Well, good Tuesday morning. Or, excuse me, good Wednesday morning. I don't know what day it is anymore. Anyway, we're starting something a little, something fun, I think. It'll be fun for me anyway. I don't know about you. But I may be starting to later on read my second novel to you, which is called Aleister Crowley, Revolt of the Magicians. Uh, but before I dive deeply into thinking about doing that. Uh, Back in the early 2000s, I was asked to write some articles for the classic Fate magazine, True Reports of the Strange and Unknown. Now, this along Fate magazine, along with Popular Mechanics and Strange Tales and UFO uh, magazines and things like that in the 1950s was about the only kind of weird out there uh, public or popular publication that talked about stuff like this. And I mentioned yesterday that my aunt, Vina in Long Beach, had Fate magazines in her magazine stand. And as I was a toddler, uh, and because they were small and childlike size, I was fascinated with Fate magazine. And in 2004 or 5, when I was approached by the publisher to offer some articles, uh, I was just absolutely thrilled. Now, this is not hardcore occult, and it's for the popular consumption, and so I wrote with that audience in mind. So this just happens to be volume 58, issue 666. The entire issue is dedicated to 666, the number of the beast. So, with that introduction, I'm going to read you my article. And it starts off with this beautiful illustration of Blake with the Antichrist picture of William Blake, 666. What's in a number? By yours truly, Lon Milo DuQuette. Are you afraid of the number 666? If you were issued an automobile license plate or a telephone number that included a string of 3 sixes, would you ask for a different number? Do you think the number 666 is inherently evil? Do you believe that any number can, in and of itself, be evil? The issue of Fate magazine that you are holding in your hands right now at this moment is issue number 666. This 666 word in this article is dead. Does this make you a little bit nervous? If it does, you're not alone. There's a name for your condition. Now I can type it out okay, but it'll be hard to pronounce. Hexacasioe hexacontahe exaphobia. The fear of the number 666. Everyone has at least one or two superstitions that we feel somehow comfortably obliged to observe. My father was a geologist and a high-degree Freemason. He was, for the most part, very logical and scientific. Still, He was oddly superstitious about little things like spilling salt and walking under ladders. For lots of people, the number 666 is particularly terrifying. After all, it's the devil's number, isn't it? For the better part of 2,000 years, many in the Western world have certainly thought so. What is it about these 3 digits that make so many people so uncomfortable? The little subtitle or heading is The Revelation of St. John. The dreaded number 666 makes its first and only appearance in the last book of the New Testament, the Revelation of St. John the Divine, often mistakenly called Revelations. A book that for centuries has been interpreted by theologians as a document prophesying the terrible events that will take place at the end of the world. Early church fathers decided that John, the author of the Revelation, was the same John who wrote the Gospel according to John, the last of the 4 Gospels. Modern experts from a wide range of religious and non-religious persuasions agree this is probably not the case. The style of the Greek writing and other obvious differences suggest the 2 books were penned by different individuals. Currently, many Bible students are reassessing other theories concerning the book of the Revelation, exactly when it was written and what it was originally trying to communicate. There's now a growing consensus among scholars that what John was actually describing in veiled imagery, understandable to his contemporary audience, was not the millennial end of the world, but an expose of the all too earthly details of the horrendous Holocaust at the hands of the Romans that ended the Second Jewish Revolt in AD 72. This event destroyed Jerusalem and the Jewish temple and dispersed the Jews. For our purposes, it really doesn't matter. The fact remains that the book has become a permanent fixture in the cultural consciousness of Western civilization. So, let's look for a moment at what tradition informs us about John, the man Jesus called his beloved disciple. After the crucifixion, John was arrested and banished to the tiny island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea, a place renowned in the ancient world for 2 things: its barren isolation and the fact that the powerful hallucinogenic mushroom Amanita muscaria grew there in abundance. We'll never know for certain whether or not John knowingly or unknowingly was influenced by the magic mushrooms. He does, however, take care to tell the reader that he was, quote, in the Spirit on the Lord's day, when the vision began. And few can deny his book does indeed read like a classic shamanistic or psychedelic experience. The vision is peopled with an awesome array of strange and terrible characters. 7 angels, 4 horsemen, a lamb, a lion, an eagle, a dragon, locusts with tails like scorpions and heads like long-haired women, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, the archangel Michael, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations, and of course, the Antichrist. There are wars and plagues and what sounds suspiciously like an asteroid collision with the Earth. Lots of people die, and the good dead people are rewarded, while the bad dead people are made to wish they were deader. It's written in such a way to make you feel pretty damn worried, even if you're confident you'll be one of the good dead people. And actually, for Fate magazine, I wrote pretty darn worried. In chapter 13, we meet two beasts, one from out of the sea and the other from out of the earth. The first beast has 7 heads and 10 horns and looks like a leopard with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. To this beast is given power and authority from a great fiery dragon, the serpent called the devil, quote, the devil and Satan, unquote. A character who was introduced to us in the preceding chapter. The second beast comes out of the earth and has 2 horns like a lamb and speaks like a dragon. This beast is identified by a numeric code in the last verse of chapter 13. Quote, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, unquote. Now I'm going to digress here for a little second because I know many of you are sort of already Kabbalistically educated, and earlier in my earlier talks and things, I mentioned the fact that in sacred literature, especially Kabbalistic sacred literature, which we're pretty confident that the book of the Revelation is written Kabbalistically on purpose, that when the words wisdom and understanding are used, we can at least consider the possibility that they're talking about the levels of consciousness associated with Sephirah number 3 on the tree of life. That's above the abyss. Number 3, which is Binah, which is called wisdom. Which is called understanding. And number 2 on the tree of life, which is called understanding. Wisdom and understanding. Number 2 and number 3 on the tree of life. That's the Supernal Triad. They aren't really separate things. 1, 2, and 3 are the singularity of consciousness, and 2 is the reflection of the singularity, and number 3 is the reception of the reflection of the singularity. So in other words, 1, 2, and 3, the Supernal Triad, aren't really 1, 2, and 3. They're just number 1 thinking about itself. But I digress. Where was I? Okay, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding, number 3, count the number of the beast. Here is wisdom, number 2. He that understandeth, that's number 3, count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. This second beast performs all sorts of miracles that confuse most everyone about just exactly who are the good guys and who are the bad guys in this whole messy affair. The book is cryptic. It's so cryptic that it's open to almost infinite interpretation. It's not at all clear whether or not this beast 666 is the Antichrist or the Antichrist's friend or exactly what. It's all very frightening and bewildering, and Bible scholars and the theologians have debated for centuries over just who's who and what it all might mean. Under the little subheading here, the second beast. One thing is clear, at least on the surface, that the second beast, number 666, is somehow in cahoots with the dark forces that work their mischief to bring about the end-time events. The idea that has tantalized people for 2,000 years is the thought that this key player in the end-of-the-world drama is not some invisible angel or spiritual abstraction, but a flesh and blood man, a man we might be able to identify by his number. Now, how can a number represent a man? The obvious answer is numerology. But what system of numerology? Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, English? Nobody really knows. John's book was written in Greek by a Jew who spoke Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus and the disciples. And he lived in a Roman-occupied world. Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and Aramaic are all written in alphabets whose letters also represent numbers. It's anybody's guess, if any, of the languages should be used to count the number of the beast. The earliest Christians who believed the world was going to end immediately used Aramaic. Greek and Hebrew numerology, Aramaic, Greek, and Hebrew numerology to finger as 666 the wicked Emperor Nero, whose monstrous reign parallels the horrors of John's vision, and many ancient and modern experts agree. But since the apocalypse didn't happen in the first century, at least not in the way predicted in Revelation, the people have been eagerly looking forward to the end of the world, seeking out individuals they don't like and trying to make their names add up to 666. Now, likely candidates have been Martin Luther, Henry VIII, Robespierre, Napoleon Bonaparte, George Washington, and his alleged Illuminati double, Adam Weishaupt, Lenin, Adolf Hitler, Stalin, Chairman Mao, Franklin Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Harry S. Truman, Prince Charles, King Juan Carlos of Spain, Mikhail Gorbachev, Bill Clinton, Osama bin Laden, and both George Bushes. Oh, I almost forgot. All of the popes. Under the heading, Can Anyone Be 666? It takes some doing, but given enough time and armed with the numerological tricks of the Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, Latin, and English alphabets, one can make anyone's name add up to 666. But there's one thing that all these accused beasts have in common. None of them actually came right out and confessed to the world that they were the beast 666. There was, however, one man in the not too distant past who proudly claimed the title. His name was Aleister Crowley. Let's see. And during his lifetime, the newspapers called him the wickedest man in the world. Chances are, if you've heard anything about Aleister Crowley, it probably wasn't very good. During his lifetime and for many years after his death, his reputation has been that of a perfectly nasty man, a black magician. Admittedly, for Victorian England, he was a pretty wild character. And if he were alive today, however, I'm afraid he would not be considered very frightening at all. In fact, in the last few years, several excellent and very well-researched biographies of Crowley have been published that have dispelled many of the untrue rumors and false accusations, including some very compelling and remarkably unevil reasons why he would claim the title of Beast 666. And let's see, I better finish this off tomorrow, because it's a little too long to finish in our allotted time this morning. So tomorrow we'll learn more specifically about what I was trying to tell the popular world, the popular public at large, about Aleister Crowley back in 2005 in the pages of Fate magazine. Anyway, we're continuing our efforts, but today I'm taking a little break from the intense house hunting efforts, because I have my Jupiter talisman, invoking the blessings of Jupiter, workshop tonight, and that's tonight at 7. And I hope you've registered. If you have and are confused that you're not finding your link information and stuff, please continue to check your spam filter, because as far as any of us know, if you registered and I processed it, which I believe I have, everyone is set. So I'll see you tonight. Until then, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Oh, have you noticed my Ganesha bolo tie? This was given to me. It was made and given to me by my good friend for many years, Bob Patton. And I've written about Bob in several of our books. He's a family friend. For years, we called him Mad Bob. If it wasn't for Mad Bob, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. Anyway, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.